Good morning and welcome to Barbara's Bulletin. I'm your host, Barbara. We begin with a developing story that's gaining attention in the realm of international relations and defense. Reports are emerging of Polish jets intercepting a Russian reconnaissance plane over the Baltic Sea, marking the second such incident this week. According to statements from Poland's military, the Russian aircraft was flying in international airspace without filing a flight plan and with its transponder switched off. This incident comes amid heightened regional tensions, particularly following increased reports of Russian military air activity near NATO airspace. The situation is complex, involving historical, political, and strategic considerations that impact not just the countries directly involved, but also their allies and the broader global community. To provide some context, the intercepted aircraft, an Il-20, is known for its electronic intelligence capabilities, including intercepting radio communications and radar emissions. This type of activity has been a point of concern for NATO states along the alliance's eastern flank, who have reported an uptick in such incidents in recent months. It's also worth noting that these events follow other significant occurrences, such as the violation of Estonian airspace by Russian jets and the crossing of Polish territory by over 20 Russian drones, all of which contribute to an environment of increased vigilance and tension. The international community is watching these developments closely. Comments from world leaders on how to address violations of airspace have varied, with some advocating for a strong response, while others emphasize the need for diplomacy to prevent escalation. As we continue to monitor this situation, it's essential to approach the topic with a balanced perspective, considering both the security concerns of the countries involved and the potential implications for global stability. We will keep a close eye on further developments and provide updates as more information becomes available. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're diving into the world of international news and politics. Today, we're focusing on Japan, where Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has just completed her first week in office. According to reports, Takaichi is balancing diplomacy, defense, and domestic unity, with a new cabinet constructed to reunify the party. She's assigned key roles to her opponents from the LDP presidential election, including Yoshimitsu Motegi as foreign minister and Shinjiro Koizumi as defense minister. In other news, Takaichi has arrived in South Korea for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, where she's expected to meet with world leaders to discuss trade and economic issues. Meanwhile, back in Japan, the government is ramping up efforts to control bear attacks, which have been on the rise. The Bank of Japan has also kept its policy rate at 0.5%, citing a lack of U.S. data that makes forecasting difficult. We're also seeing developments in the relationship between Japan and the U.S., with President Trump meeting with Takaichi's predecessor to discuss trade deals. However, it's still unclear how these talks will impact the future of U.S.-Japan relations. Additionally, there are reports of a major heist at the Louvre Museum in Paris, which has left many questioning the security measures in place. Takaichi's leadership style and policy decisions will be closely watched in the coming weeks and months. As Japan navigates its position on the world stage, it's essential to consider the potential implications of her actions on global politics and economies. We'll continue to monitor these developments and bring you updates as more information becomes available. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we wrap up today's show, we're taking a look at the unfolding situation in Tanzania, where protests have entered their second day following a disputed election. The election, which was held on Wednesday, saw incumbent President Samia Suluhu Hassan facing off against 16 other candidates from smaller parties, after the two main opposition parties were barred from running. According to reports, hundreds of protesters have taken to the streets, with clashes between demonstrators and security forces resulting in at least 2 deaths, as confirmed by Amnesty International. The government has imposed a curfew in the commercial capital, Dar es Salaam, and deployed the military to the streets in an effort to maintain order. The opposition has criticized the election as a coronation of President Hassan, with many viewing the outcome as a foregone conclusion. The main opposition leader, Tundu Lissu, remains in prison after being charged with treason for calling for electoral reforms. As the situation continues to unfold, there are concerns about the impact on the country's stability and the potential for further violence. Amnesty International has called for investigations into the use of force against protesters by police. We'll continue to monitor the situation in Tanzania and bring you updates as more information becomes available. In the meantime, we urge all parties involved to prioritize peaceful resolution and respect for human rights. That's all for today's Barbarous Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.